Hello everyone, Mr. E here, back and recovered from my illness. Over the past week, I've been sick, and while I was laying around feeling like crap, I felt better because I realized that at least I don't have what everyone does in Tertium.
Oh my god! What's wrong with your face?
Clearly it's some pretty nasty stuff. So my question is, how did everyone in Tertium get so sick, and where did this disease come from? Well, it turns out that the answer lies with the usual suspects. The Mobian 6th. But they did not start this journey with malicious intentions. The 6th are one of the most respected regiments on Atoma Prime, well known for their valor on the Mobian front. Powerful families would pull strings to have their children join the 6th as officers, including House Karnak. Yes, that Karnak. Such was the prestige associated with serving in the 6th. Yet for many in the 6th, respect and admiration of your people, of Atoma Prime, was hardly compensation for the horrors they endured on a near-permanent deployment to the Mobian front. Their deployment was part of the Imperium's fringe war in the sector, holding back threats Xenos and Chaos alike. The world that would ultimately infect and corrupt the 6th was called Nox Alpha. Nox Alpha is what the Imperium considers a death world, a world so inhospitable to human life that there's no hope for permanent colonization. Nevertheless, it was the 6th's duty to be deployed to this planet in order to fight back the forces of chaos and stop them from securing a foothold in the sector. But it's not all bad. If you're deployed to Nox Alpha, you have 3 exotic locales to choose from. Visit sunny Hellas, where the dry thunderstorms rip across the landscape, and hope to the Emperor you never get caught in any of the deadly red mists. For nature lovers, there's the Grundak Forest, where the trees are so dense that there's no chance you'll perceive what's stalking you until it tears at your throat. And of course, picturesque Tenebris, which is cast in perpetual darkness. Hope you brought enough flares. To make matters worse, the winds on Nox Alpha carry dangerous diseases. Use of a rebreather is the only way to avoid contracting Lunger's cough. These and other horrific diseases such as Noxpox ripped through the ranks of the 6th. But where many were killed, others grew stronger. Captain Wolfer and his lieutenants Rinda and Roden Karnak have survived longer than most in their deployment. Roden had become known for beating recruits to a pulp for little to no reason. Rinda was more subtle about her vengeance, as last men who criticized her would disappear without trace, though her squad would always have more than enough meat rations to eat. Any attempts at formal reprimand for their behavior was blunted by Captain Wolfer, who protected the twins from court-martial several times. Captain Byron Wolfer was well known and respected by both his men and other officers for his valor in battle, self-sacrifice, and being a powerful and motivating speaker. His helmet hides a face full of scars, showing that he is unafraid to lead from the front lines. It's hard to tell what came first for Wolfer and his lieutenants, though, the mental corruption or the physical. All that can be said is that those under Wolfer's captaincy grew stronger by the day, fueled by resentment for an Imperium that had left them for dead. In order to survive, they embraced the disease, and it embraced them. Unbeknownst to his allies at the time, Captain Wolfer and the Karnak twins would begin plotting their revenge against the Imperium, though even they did not know how fortuitously fate would tilt in their favor. Wolfer, the Karnak twins, and his deployment of the Mobian 6th easily overwhelmed the loyalist factions present on Nox Alpha. And, as luck would have it, that's just when a call came from Tertium. All remaining Mobian 6 deployed on Nox Alpha were to return to Atoma Prime, to Tertium, to help quell an uprising. A Nurgle cultist uprising. This Nurgle cult called itself the Cult of Admonition. For the Cult of Admonition, this was all according to prophecy. The Mobian 6th were supposed to return from Nox Alpha and bring with them the blessed plague that the Grandfather had bestowed upon them. For everyone else, though, what transpired next came as a horrific surprise. The 6th returned home to Atoma Prime and spread itself across the entirety of the hive city of Tertium. The 6th placed itself at key junctures across the entirety of the city under the guise of routing out dread cultists. One of these most key locations was HL 934, Coal Iron Stack. This is a hydro ration station that draws fresh water from glacial melt. Wolfer would also place many of his men in Chasm Terminus and Chasm Logistratum 2 railway stations with the intent of controlling the rails that cross most of Tertium's great spans. And with all the chess pieces finally in place, Wolfer's betrayal of Tertium began in earnest. Among his first moves was to send several trains loaded with blight and explosives into the chasm station. The explosions of these bombs caused many civilians to die and infected many more. Those who did survive would return home to their densely packed hab blocks and spread the contagion further. The elite training and weaponry granted to the Mobian 6 through their service in Astra Militarum put them leagues ahead of the domestic enforcement, the loyalists who remained on Tertium. That, combined with the threat of the Dreg rabble and the newly rising zombie horrors, the Poxwalkers, nearly overwhelmed all loyalist resistance within hours of the uprising beginning. Soon the city was in full disarray. Wolfer's Mobian 6th, the former heroes of Tertium, would begin shooting citizens in the streets, causing Poxwalkers to rise in even greater numbers. They looted and pillaged their former home. Wolfer has also worked in cooperation with alchemists in the Carnival District to refine some of the blessed plague that gives them their strength into combat-enhancing stims for distribution to his men and to the masses. While we have Wolfer and the Mobian 6 to credit for much of bringing the Pox back to Tertium, the proliferation within the Hive City is much the responsibility of the Cult of Admonition. Through their chants and prayers to Nurgle, the disease brought from Nox Alpha has transcended from a physical plague to a metaphysical one that can corrupt a person both mind, body, and soul. At present, the diseases that the Mobian 6th brought back are less diseases and more curses. Curses that can allow even mortal flesh to transcend into hulking chaos spawns or horrific beasts of Nurgle. And it can even allow the cult to summon demons into formerly mortal bodies. And that's the story of how Tertium got to be as sick and disgusting as it is. I guess if I had to give a moral for this one, it would be wash your hands and try not to lose faith in the Emperor of Mankind and all that. There is one way that I know of that's guaranteed that you won't contract these horrible diseases, though, and that's to subscribe to Mr. E. It's not a vaccine, but I can't guarantee it won't give you autism. And let me know down in the comments what you thought of this more lore-focused video. I really enjoyed making it. I really enjoyed this specific piece of lore, actually. Thinking about the motivations of the Mobian 6th and Wolfer was really, really tragic. Like thinking about how horrific it must be to be sent for years. I mean, they don't specify how long their deployment was, but I gather it's years to decades that they spent on Nox Alpha, and a planet that is plunged into darkness most of the day. Everyone around you is dying, and your deployment is not a timed thing. It's just until you die. It has to feel horrible to be a legitimate hero, to sacrifice everything for your people of your home planet, and with no thanks other than whatever propaganda the Imperium sends them of your travails on the Fringe Wars. So I can totally understand their motivations in wanting to, now that they've actually barely survived Nox Alpha with the help of Nurgle's blessing, of course, to get back at the Imperium for everything that they've stolen from them and break the planet free of their grasp. Now, granted, every time you align yourself against the Imperium of Man in 40k, you're also guaranteeing that you're allying yourself with, 15 different Chaos factions. There's no good guys in 40k, as they say. So I guess therein lies the problem. But it is just such an interesting dynamic, and I loved learning about it and sharing it with you. Here are my members. If you wish to become a member, pay a couple dollars a month. You'll get to see pictures of my cute little dog. Lots of additional benefits. You can be in contact with me, all that good stuff. If you want to support the channel, I really, really appreciate it. Otherwise, guys, just like and subscribe, and stay safe out there. Wash your hands, stay healthy, and I'll see you next time. Mr. E, out.